Guys, I think it's going to be the best lineup panel of the year. We got Robin Markland, Chris Eaton, Stephen Capps, and Shane Kelly all on the show. We're going to talk business, talk sponsorship, relationships. What is a sponsorship? What really goes on behind these curtains? All that stuff. Stick around. We got a great show coming up for you tonight. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here early tonight. You just heard the intro. We've got a great lineup. We're going to talk, excuse me, we're going to talk sponsorships and some business, trying to pull the curtain back on what opportunities are there? How do you maximize your opportunities for sponsorship? And the flip side, how can you maximize return for those people that invest in you? I think that that's a really important point to remember, that that's not just a one-time transaction. That's an investment somebody's making in you. So we will get into all of that tonight. It's wonderful to have you guys here. I really don't have many announcements. All of the shows are done. I don't have any in-person shows until February. So it's pretty cold too. Shipping is done. We'll talk about that a little bit with Robin, but shipping for me is done here in Minnesota. So, if you see something you like, we can take care of you come March, and I'll be glad to hold stuff. No problem there. Check out Morph Market and properroyals.com. They are both up to date right now with, properroyals.com is even more up to date. Most of the good stuff is up on Morph Market too. If you're local, you want to do business, let me know. Happy to deliver in the Twin Cities area before Christmas. You got to get, you need to get something under the tree. You let me know. Okay. Other than that, I really don't think that I have many announcements tonight. I want to say thanks to the sponsors ahead of time. I don't know that we'll get into the full-on promos tonight, but all of their information is down below. All their logos are up above. Please make sure to check them out. They are absolutely great friends of the show and very, very important. And I will make sure that I get their investment return back to them, because I think pausing the show in the middle of five of us chatting emphatically about what we believe in and our experience is going to be tough to do. So be sure to take care of the sponsors. I got you guys covered on an extra episode. Okay. So without further ado, please welcome, everybody. You guys are here. These are the guys that I looked up to before I ever even got in the ring. So welcome Stephen, Shane, Chris, and Robin Markland from Redline Shipping. Good evening, guys. How are you?
What's going on, man?
I'm pretty pumped to be here. I got to say, this came together. It took a little while to come together because we actually cooked this up. Robin cooked this up, 6-8 weeks ago. And then 2 nights ago, I was like, in my COVID NyQuil haze, I was like, we should figure out what's going on here. So here we are. I'm glad to have everybody. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, bud. I understood you were under the weather, Adam. Are you recovered from that? Are you still snotty?
No, I'm doing pretty well. I tested all clear today, so I got to get back to work down here in the snake room. Perry was here helping me today. He said that other than my voice sounding funny, I was in pretty good shape. So there we are. I'm feeling. You get that fatigue. You get that leftover fatigue, especially when you have a week of medicine in you. It takes me a day or two to flush all that out,
Yep.
I'm glad you're on the upswing.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, things are going to be just fine.
Not COVID, but for the first time in my life, I dealt with kidney stones this last week, and it was terrible. Straight up terrible.
Did you pass it, or did you get the laser? What'd you get? What'd you do?
One, and now I had a CAT scan on Monday, and I have 3 more that are just chilling, ticking like a time bomb.
Yeah, you got to get them busted up ahead of time, right?
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
I had a chef that had him, and man, he was the toughest bastard ever, but man, they would wreck him, man.
I hear it's extremely painful.
I was not expecting it. I was actually on my way to work. It kept coming in waves, but while I was on my way to work, my whole body started tingling, and I got dizzy, and I couldn't drive, and Courtney had to come pick me up because I'm a baby and bring me back to urgent care.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's great is the two most in shape guys on this panel are the two that got sick.
Yeah,
See, when you're old school like us, you know, kidney stones and COVID, they don't get you.
Right? Yeah, those are awful illnesses to deal with. Chris, you had any medical issues in the past year?
No, nothing to write home about. Yeah. I actually love when people come up to me and they're like, you know, I'm like, how have you been? And they're like, oh, well, you know, I've been sick this week. I had a runny nose. They're like, how have you been? I'm like, oh, yeah, I lost my leg. All right, mic drop. Boom. They usually just walk away. Right?
Yeah, but for Steven, it hurts when he pees, Chris.
Yeah. You know, for anybody that's been around the block, it hurts when they pee, you know, every now and then anyway. So all right. I'm glad that this is the first time that Steven's hurting when he pees.
Not all of us spent the 90s in LA, okay, Chris.
I'm glad at 31 fucking Steven finally realizes that it could hurt when you pee. All right.
Chris got my age right. He remembers my happy birthday chat. Like, come on.
That's what I do. All right.
So, quick disclaimer: we're probably going to go for the PG-13-ish rating tonight, just so everybody knows.
Professional Chris.
Professional Chris.
If everybody else can keep it together, I will. Right.
You know, as long as we say it up front, we're all clear. And now, don't say anything that'll drive the sponsors off, because I've already had to in the past, not because of my activities, but because of other podcasters' behaviors. I have been dropped and had to rekindle relationships because of other people's behavior. So
I have as well, my friends.
Okay, so you get where I'm coming from here. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll pack the content tonight. So
so Chris, who's your douchebag of the week then?
We already talked about this backstage.
You know what? We'll do it on your show. We'll do that on your
show. But there's always a few. All right, there's always a few. But we won't name them. You know, again, this is the new me. This isn't the old me. All right, this is the new me. Right.
New year, new Chris. You know.
Yep.
And actually, before we get into the real deep content here, Chris, what do you got going on tomorrow night and Thursday night while you're here? Let's get this.
We got the debates going on. Yeah, the debates. They're always fun, right? Because it really separates the people who are good online when they're asked certain questions, how they hold it together, and all that. And all that's a part of winning the whole thing, you know. But like Steven, when he ran, him and Courtney were unstoppable. You couldn't shake them no matter what questions you asked. You know, a lot of people do tend to clam up, and you know, we just have fun. It's just another way of keeping in front of people and keeping the contest in front of people, because the popular vote is, I mean, unless somebody does something insane, is already, you know, pretty much in the bag for one person. And then basically the debates are where everybody gets to change the judges' minds, you know.
And how's the breakdown? So there's the popular vote and then the judges' vote. How do things get split here?
Yeah, it gets split between the popular vote, Shane's vote, Steven and Courtney's vote, and Antoine's vote.
Wow. So the popular vote's only 25%, huh?
Yeah. But if you win the popular vote, you have a leg up, because you only really need one person, one judge to vote for you. Because if everybody votes for somebody different, the popular vote helped that guy, you know, or girl get through.
That's true. That's true. And have you announced any special surprises yet? Or are they going to remain special surprises?
No, they're getting the belt this year. The belt is really fun. You know, the belt was a good addition to the thing. I mean, Shane and Steven walking around in Canada with the belt was just insane. But like, somebody asked Shane if he could take a picture with the belt. Shane told him no, he has to earn it. Okay?
And then he punched him in the face.
Yeah. So
let me interrupt though. When me and Steven were cruising downtown Toronto with the top down on the Camaro, and I had the belt on my shoulder.
That's
People
a Mustang,
were pulled up
pal.
going like, whoa, yeah. They were like, yeah. Oh, yeah, Mustang. Whatever.
We still had
They're
decals
famous.
on it at that time, by the way, Chris.
Yeah,
That wasn't even me.
Redline decal.
That wasn't even me. All right. It's not my fault. You guys don't pay attention to the card that Robin got for you. Right?
You're
I
right.
mean,
you're right.
there's a hell of a sponsorship. Robin doles out the money to buy a Mustang so you guys can go party for a weekend. This is how this worked.
So Steven and Shane could go party for a weekend.
That's true.
Yeah, I drove up to Canada in a Kia and got denied at the first hotel that we went to. So,
but see, there's already misinformation. Me and Steven were there for pretty much a week. So I mean, that's
even longer.
you know?
yeah, I know. Yeah, me and my guys had to show up on Saturday morning and leave on Sunday night.
Life of the B Squad.
Yeah, you got to work your way up, man.
Chris, what time are these debates tomorrow night?
9:00 tomorrow night.
9:00 Eastern. All right, perfect. We will all check it out and have an eye on any excitement that comes from it. Contestants, you better bring it. And so forget whether the popular vote is sealed or not. You got 75% of the vote left to go get.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
That's right. Robin, we'd be remiss to say, I think you have been, I won't speak for everybody, but I think you've been pretty wildly supportive of certainly the four people on the screen. And I would argue the industry as a whole. But I know that this was kind of important to you to put together tonight. So you want to kick us off?
Sure. I work a lot with a lot of different people in the industry and different podcasts and different efforts and social media influencers. And we do a lot of promotion. I'm big on promotion. I'm big on marketing, and I'm big on, getting your brand out there. I'm also a big fan of relationships and how we all work together cooperatively to try and move everybody forward together. I think that's really important as an industry. And, we're a really unique industry in that it's good size. It's, hundreds of millions of dollars, but essentially it's still a small group. It's still a family feel inside the industry as far as, we all seem to know each other and there's such a great cooperative effort. But I really thought that the promo that stood out for me for the whole year was the Redline road trip. And the work that those guys did, Steven and Shane specifically, putting that together. I'm not to exclude. I haven't named everybody, but to put that idea together and execute it, it just went so well, and it really kind of spoke to me in as much as it really demonstrated how to do a great promotion. And I really wanted to try and spotlight these guys, and also Chris, and to show how well it was done and kind of the thought and the effort behind it and what it meant to me as a sponsor, what it meant to my brand. And I thought, wow, what a great example it is for other folks out there that are either looking to sponsor podcasts or, social media profiles or influencers, or the folks that want to get sponsorship. And I mean, literally, this group right here you guys are just all so outstanding. And that includes Adam, and that includes Chris. I've had sponsorship arrangements with each of you, and the return on it has just been so fantastic. We are here on Adam's show. So outside of the road trip, which I want to get into specifically, but I don't know if you guys, Steven, Shane, and Chris, and the audience, I'm not sure if you guys know the backstory, but Adam pitched himself hard to us at Redline to get sponsored. And I didn't know him from anybody, literally from Adam. I wasn't familiar with the show, and I didn't know what he did. But he approached us in a professional way, and he was consistent and persistent about it. And I thought, well, we'll take a flyer and we'll work with him and see what he can do. And Adam, your execution of the past couple of years has been just phenomenal. The way that you hammer on your sponsors and you get their brands out there, and you continually mention them and fold them into your narrative and into your shows. And the way you fold as a sponsor, the way you folded me into your program and into your shows, and doing live shows together. The return on that has just been tremendous. And I don't know if you guys as a group understand that that's not really how it works in the general world. Nobody is returning the value like the four of you guys have done for me. It's all just been so outstanding. And so I thought it would be really nice to be able to kind of discuss that a little bit and discuss some of the results of that, as well as I'd love to hear the motivations on your side, Adam and Chris included. So at Redline, I get lots of requests for sponsorships. Sponsor my podcast, sponsor my YouTube channel, sponsor my trade show, my reptile show, sponsor my social media profile, my Instagram page, or whatever it is. I get tons of those requests, and most of the time I try and help out in some way. This not necessarily a secret, but the reality is it's very rarely ever cash money.
Yeah.
It's more so supporting from an exposure standpoint, or supporting from maybe I provide product or promotional materials or something like that. A lot of people get confused in thinking that they start a YouTube channel and then they're going to reach out to 10 sponsors, and each of the sponsors is going to pay them $2,000 a month for their channel startup. That's not how it works, and that's not how Redline works. I don't actually pay out for as much exposure and branding as we get out in the industry. Most of that is relationship based and cooperation based. What value are you bringing to me as a Redline company, and then what value can I bring back to you as the sponsored promo person? But like Adam specifically, the way that you incorporate the sponsor mention and the exposure in the show, and the exposure at live shows and reptile shows and such. It's a slam dunk to be associated with you. All of your sponsors here are very lucky to be sponsoring your show. And I love that you work so hard to give value back. Chris is the same way. Chris Eaton with the Snakes and the Fat Man podcast and his platform. He's also very consistent about making sure that his sponsors get that exposure back. And I'm not sure that people appreciate that. As a sponsor, I can't just give value or certainly cash and then never hear from you again. But that happens a lot. That happens a lot. And so it's very refreshing and empowering to see that the person I'm sponsoring or the channel I'm sponsoring is working hard to give me value back, because it's a joint relationship.
I was going to say, I don't,
one-way street.
I don't think people, I know they don't because we don't talk about it, but behind the scenes, Robin and I probably text at least once a week, and some weeks there could be 20 texts in a week. We just get on a string of ideas, or, hey, what do you have cooking right now? What do you want to get out there right now? And I've had a lot of brand relationships in my corporate life, but I've never had this sort of official, like, I'm going to do this for you in exchange for this. But really, I never set that. There's no document that exists for me and Robin right now. There's not like we even had an odd conversation maybe 3 months ago where it was like, where are we at? Do we have to renew anything? Is there anything that needs to happen? And it was like, no, it's good. So, but I don't think that people, like you said, you can't just like take somebody's money or try and take their money or want to take their money. And then it's like, well, okay, deal's done. Like for me, it's always been, how can I I want nobody to want to leave. I want to be so good that people go, I'm not going anywhere. And for whatever our relationship is, whether it's and currency comes in a lot of forms, whether it's cash, like you say, whether it's goods, whether it's opportunity that you can put in front of somebody else, a service that you could provide. So there's many forms of currency as well on that. But yeah, it's not just the experience starts when you get the sponsorship. It doesn't end. Like a lot of people think it ends. I got it. It's done.
Well, I think that when Robin met us and we met Robin, I mean, I'm not speaking for Adam, but I think that you just know, right? Like, okay, after talking to this person for 10 minutes, I know he's going to bring whatever he says he's going to bring to the table. I'll do whatever I can to do it. With a lot of the people, it is just like, hey, I got the Redline sponsorship. I'll mention him for 8 seconds during the show, and that should be enough. But that's not enough. I mean, there's that when money gets exchanged, you, as much as we say we love to do this, it is a job, okay, and you have to do certain things, and the sponsors are the people that really that make the shows happen. So you can thank Robin for all the crap that I've been through for the last year. So Robin's the one of the main causes that I keep coming back, because Robin makes it worth it.
And I appreciate that. And it's really about the value exchange, right? Whether that's cash or whether that's connections or services or support. I'm always interested in working with good people and, motivated people. And on your side, fellas, as the sponsored personality, to take that initiative to say, how am I going to bring the value back to my sponsor? And it's not about Redline necessarily. It's about any sponsor you're working with. How can you not only return the value of the relationship and the deal, but how can you exceed that value, right? To what Adam's point is, so that when your term comes up, whether it's a quarterly thing or a yearly thing, when Adam and I talked a few weeks ago about, what comes next, I said, well, fuck, all of 2025 comes next, my friend. Like, that's a slam dunk. I don't have to even think about that.
Right.
That value is there, and I'm automatically in. We're doing this.
That's right.
And I don't have to think about it. Whereas there's easily a dozen folks that I'm going to have to be like, is this going to be worth it or not? Times are a little tight right now, and things are a little tight right now. And so I have to evaluate, what can I really do for this particular reptile show sponsorship? Or what can I do for this social media platform channel for this specific person? I'm not going to mention a name, but, I had a pretty sour ass experience last year in the past 12 months where, I talked to a prominent personality and influencer, and we had a deal, and we're going to do some Redline product promotion, send, all kinds of Redline science stuff and Redline shipping stuff. And we're going to get, unboxing, and we're going to get promo videos throughout the year and this, that, and the other. And I must have put together a $300 package of product and stuff. And I sent it out, and I never heard another fucking thing after that. Wow. I didn't even get a thank you that hey, I got the package. I saw that they got it. But I never got another mention after that. And boy, that felt bad, shitty. Because then now I just feel taken advantage of. Oh, okay. You're about bullshit. You're not a real professional, right?
That's really short-sighted too. I mean, like, as nice as a box of stuff from you is, it's just a box of stuff like that. Is, right. I mean, I can attest to the long game and relationships, and I've never made any bones about it. Like, I love working with you, and I've had a lot of opportunity with you, but I would say the same with Portuguese Pythons, or Trevor at Ball Labs, or Chris at B and S Reptilia, shed testing and Argen. But like, good things have come just from, like, you can't predict what good opportunities are going to come when somebody else is mentioning your name, or, hey, I'm looking for this. Maybe Adam's got it, or vice versa. And it goes the other, or I don't know how to ship. Oh, call the people at Redline. They're going to take care of you. They're going to hook it up for you. You're going to make sure you know how to do it. So, That is mighty short-sighted. Like, how that's just a greedy grab. They would have been better just spending the money themselves than getting branded with that sort of idea.
Well, yeah, because I'm certainly not going to recommend them to anybody else.
No. And you talk to a lot of people, like a hell of a lot of people.
Now Arcadia is making a big push into the market, right? Coming from the UK, and they want to make a big splash, and they're already selling the shit out of their products now, and they have to bring in a ton more. But if they're looking for somebody to endorse or advertise with, I've got a short list of folks for sure,
right,
that I would recommend. But $300 package guy, I mean, I can afford to do a $300 package. Arcadia can afford to do a $5,000 package. But I'm sure as fuck not mentioning your name, because
Is that Arcadia.com, Robin?
Yeah. What's this Arcadia you speak of?
It's just the thing that came to mind. But but it's about those relationships. Mm-hmm. And so for example, the Fear to Fascination folks, Joe and Ash.
Right.
I worked with them on the Palm Street promo that we did for St. Louis and ARBC. And we did a bunch of run-up promos to push the auction that we were doing there. And they absolutely crushed it. They did great promos, super creative, consistent. And, I think I asked them to, hey, can we get 5 videos? And they probably doubled that in the week's time and really exceeded my expectations. And their execution was fantastic. And that then leads to me suggesting to other companies, hey, if you guys want to do some promos about an event or a promotion you're doing, boy, the folks at Fear to Fascination did a great job for me. And I highly recommend that. And whether that's to Pangea or Josh's Frogs or NARBC, I did recommend them to Brian Butler for Altitude Exotics for his big Black Friday sale. And they crushed it for him as well. They did some amazing videos for him. And that's where that extended value keeps going on, because I can speak to how well they did. They're not on my shit list, that's for sure. They're folks that I can endorse and say, these guys will crush it for you if this is what you're looking for. If you want to get, reach an audience and have a great podcast sponsorship, Adam is going to be a great choice. If you're more edgy and you want Dirty Mouth Jones, then yeah, Chris is your guy. And I actually, Chris, I've recommended you to a lot of folks already anyways.
No one's called
to give you a hard time.
Yeah.
And to, I'm not sure if we're going to jump right into the Redline road trip, but I can't continue to say enough good things about what Stephen and Shane did with the Redline road trip. Again, I think that was the best promotion of the year out of any promotion I saw. I thought it was the most effective. I thought it was the most creative. I thought it was the most well executed. And again, I don't know if it's a secret, but the secret is I didn't have jack shit to do about it. I didn't think of it. It wasn't my idea. I didn't pitch it. These guys pitched it to me. These guys brought the value to my door and said, hey, we've got an idea that we think could be really cool and really fun. Are you interested? And they were so focused and so motivated, like, this is what's going to happen. This is when it's going to happen. This is how we're going to do it. This is what the result's going to be. And this is what we need in support. It was like simple.
Well, that's the one thing I'll say for Stephen and Shane, and Stephen knows this because I told him about a year ago about it. But Shane, I always knew was great since I first met him. Shane always went above and beyond. And then Stephen, we were going to do something else. We were going to do, and literally I gave Stephen the idea, and Stephen came back with like a report. Like a full-fledged business, like everything, all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. And I think that everybody in here in this particular room knows that anything that we do together, that the person that they're working with is going to work just as hard as they are to get the thing done. So I think that's the biggest thing, because when I first worked with Steven, I was just like, there's no way did you do that. Well, like I would have did that. No way did you do that. And he's like, yeah, no, it's just the normal thing. Yeah, you know, and same with Shane too. Like, and Adam, you know, you've gotten those 4 a.m. in the morning phone calls from Robin that you know, it's just like, what's up? You're like, well, it's 4 in the morning, dude, and I'm about to head to bed.
Look, there's a time change, and I go to bed late. I don't know what you want.
I know. I know. But it's great when we called about the B squad thing. That was just I think that was actually Robin's idea. He was like, it would be funny if we did like a backup team for Shane and Steven just in case they screw things up. And I go, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny if we were the backup team screwing everything up? You know, and that's why we're the B squad. And I think that this is the only promotion of the year that incorporated multiple people into a week-long event kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that the stuff that you guys did with the B squad made it like, I'm super proud of everything that like Shane and I did for it, but B squad made it a story, and that narrative aspect made it where like so many people got invested into it, because it wasn't just simply like Redline is sponsoring Shane and Steven to go up to Canada, which is neat, but cool. But you guys doing the B squad and you stealing the logos, to this day, I have people come up and talk to me about it. Like they still talk about like the Redline road trip, the B squad. And like, I know it wasn't that long ago, but like how often do you have people come up and talk about a sponsorship months after it happened?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It works so good that I met somebody in Charlotte and she thought I was Canadian. Like, I guess she didn't know me before, but then all of a sudden she thought I was a Canadian, you know? So it reached outside of my normal sphere of influence and stuff. And I wanted to touch on something that Robin was talking about. To me, the whole deal is about building relationships and networking. And in fact, like when me and Steven first talked to Robin and pitched him the idea, like Robin was on board or whatever. But first thing Robin did was like, you got to see Mark Mandick. You got to see Grant. He runs the show. You got to meet Sam, the shipper up there. And like gave us all these leads of more people to make connections and networking with. So, I mean, thank you again, Robin, for the whole thing, man. Like, I'm very appreciative. And I guess me and Steven and Chris and the B squad did a good job. So thank you.
You did an A+ job, and it's going to be one of my favorite promotions of all time. I'd love to revisit it as well. It's funny you mentioned Mark Mandick, because I think one of the tangent results of that, I think, made him come down to Tinley after that. I haven't seen him at Tinley in forever.
That might have been the case. And the flip side, there was more Americans at CRBE that show because all of us doing all that and stuff. So everyone was happy all the way around. The show promoters, the vendors, everyone was happy to see all the Americans up there.
Yeah, it was a great result. And while you were still there, I was texting with Mark and you know, because I started to hear some things that he was involved and stuff. And I was just so excited because I think the world of him. I think, you know, and he's a classic, you know, iconic dude in our industry. Especially, you know, as a matter of fact, on the same type of narrative, he is a foundational dude when it comes to marketing and branding.
Yes.
You know, he was, I don't know if there was anybody earlier than him that was executing trade show displays with such thoughtfulness and strategy that he was. I mean, he had the display back in the day that blew me away, because he approached it from a presentation standpoint, right?
It was the rugs, right?
Yeah. Well,
right.
yes, he had rugs, but I mean, he had his logos. It was well lit. The color choices were well thought out. You know, that orange and white approach really just popped, and that made his animals look that much more, you know, fantastic. And frankly, that elevated his brand. Even though I didn't know anything about Marcus Jane as a brand at the time when I first saw him, I knew there's the premier animals right there. I bet you money that guy has some of the best ball pythons here. And you could just tell because of his presentation. He wasn't going to be having bullshit and presenting like that. And it was after he started doing that at shows that people started saying, hey, let me put a little more thought into my trade show presentation and how I'm going to market my brand. I was at the time, we were probably still using bed sheets as table drapes.
Yeah.
And, running down to Target and getting, some clip-on lamp that I would hang above my display of snakes. It was a pretty half-assed effort. But somebody like Mark that really approached that branding and marketing side, that made a big difference in how I wanted to move forward. I said, I want to be like this guy. And I think when you execute good marketing, when you execute good promotion, that's what it encourages. It encourages other people to think, there's a high bar there. I want to try and achieve that. I want to try and push and do execute to that kind of a level. And I think the road trip has set a brand new bar for how you're going to execute video promotion and stuff. Like I said, I'd be really interested to see if we could put something together for next year, or maybe, Steve and Shane, maybe you guys come up with a brand new idea. I would certainly love to hear it. But
let me interrupt real quick.
Yeah,
I will work with Steven on anything, anytime, man. We worked really good together. We're cohesive and we don't step on each other's toes. And I don't know if I ever told Steven that. So thank you, Steven.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Honestly, everybody on this call, and by the way, I know Adam, there's been so many super chats that you've been like wanting to get on there, like be like, but everybody on this call kills it to work with. If anybody in the chat has a chance to work with any of these guys, jump at it. Like it is always top notch.
Yeah, and we've all done stuff all together. I think every one of us can draw a direct line to every other person on here.
Yeah.
Now that I look at it, we've all either are working right now together on things, or we have many, many times in the past. And I agree with that as well. Something that came up that you guys, a theme that I just heard was kind of when the person that wants the support or is looking for the sponsorship, when they a theme that I heard that other people the audience might not be, cognizant of, is that we put a lot of effort into painting the picture for the person rather than going, hey, can I get some money? What do you expect for people that you give money to? I'm curious about everybody else's. I'll chime in afterwards, but Stephen, I know you do this professionally. Chris, well, anybody getting paid is doing it professionally. If you do this as a career, Chris, you've done this for a long time. What are some things you guys do to paint that picture to somebody like Robin, so he goes, shit, yeah, my work's done for me. All I got to do is nod and agree. All right, I'm in. Go for it. Hit it. And that was kind of what it sounded like happened on the road trip. But what are some things you guys do and some other examples that way?
Well, with the road trip specifically, Steven kind of hit me up and he said what he wanted to do. And then I knew I could add 3 videos. We're going to wear Redline road shirts every day of the trip. This is what I can add to the whole equation. And then we pitch it to Robin. And pro tip for anyone out there listening, undersell and over deliver.
There you go.
That's the key there. Don't overcommit yourself if you don't think you could do it. So, but really the seed of the idea for the road trip was really Steven's, and then we just collaborated together and it came out the way it did.
Yeah. So I'll hit one aspect so that way I'm not talking a ton of time and it still gives everybody else a chance. So one thing that I think is important when you are a sponsee looking for a sponsor is to be able to clearly communicate the value that you're going to bring. And a lot of times when you're looking at traditional advertisement or traditional digital marketing, the eyeballs that we as the reptile hobby have are teeny tiny compared to what you could get if you paid $500 on Google and ran display ads. Most people in the reptile hobby don't get 1,000 views per video. And it's really, really hard to ask for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to get a brand to sponsor you if you are getting 300, 400, 500 views a video, because there's just not enough people to see it to really matter. So one of the things that we tried to do in order to exponentially grow the amount of people who would see it is that we wanted to try to create a situation where people would talk about the sponsorship itself. So we wanted to have a situation like we leaned into the idea that Robin got us a red Mustang convertible to drive up to Canada in order to go to the CRBE. And then people are like, did Robin really get them a Mustang? Like, that's whether or not it's true or not. The fact that they're thinking about it and they're talking about it expands the reach because it gets people talking about it. So it was like the very, very first thing, but there went to be so many other things that happened. And I really think that the biggest thing that helped out the Redline road trip was Chris and the B Squad coming on, because now it was a completely different vibe. And I'll pass it over to Chris to talk about why you wanted to come in on the B Squad.
Well, I was thinking myself, I'm not going to go to an American show in a wheelchair. I want to be walking into an American show. Okay. But I figured Canada, hell, nobody cares about up there anyway. Right. And they're so nice, that, we were making jokes that, if we showed up in the B Squad car at an American show and we had a logo on the side of our car, everybody would write on it like, fuck you, you fat bastard. I hate you. Right. In Canada, we walked out to the car and people wrote on the car like, thanks for coming and you were great. And I can't believe you came, So I figured Canada would be a safe thing. And then I knew Paul and Kevin, man, you just put them together and it's like lightning in a bottle, right? Like they're like brothers who like absolutely hate each other. And it made the 8-hour drive go by so fast, right? Because all they were doing was cursing each other out and complaining to each other. And then when one guy's sleeping, the other dude will smash his head into the window while the guy, it was so, it was like being with college kids again. And I knew that would be fun. And I figured, Canada, 8 hours, away, you could handle, 8 hours in the car. And the fact that you and Shane were doing it was just like, all right, this is great. We get to go in heavy with the Americans, because a lot of Americans came up to that show specifically because we were there. Okay, so when America kind of rolled in heavy. You got Shane looking like an MMA fighter with the belt on his thing, like everybody was stopping all the Americans. It was like Brittany Gobble at a Tinley show. Like you couldn't walk 10 feet without people stopping you. And that's what made it so much fun. And then meeting Grant and everything, I asked Grant and Fadi, I was like, you think maybe we could record, up there? And they were like, yeah, we'll get you a full-on production room with a backdrop and everything. And I was just like, wow, okay. And to get to go up there and see so many people while working, it made it not a job at all. Like it never felt like we have to go up there because Redline's sponsoring us. It was like we want to go out there for Redline, because Redline's sponsoring us. And it's like all these. It's like what I say about these big breeders going on like every show nowadays. You used to have like this little mystique behind the breeder, where if they came on, it was an event, and like thousands of people would watch. Now Justin is going on shows with 300, views on it. And I feel like it's taken away from the mystique to it all. And the road trip kind of brought that back, that feeling back to me where you're like, oh, this is an event. We're going to, like everybody can't help but talk about this month because we're doing this. So.
Yeah, and there was the community participation aspect that was great too. People documenting their journey and tagging the road trip and tagging everyone in here and stuff. And it got the whole community involved in 2 different countries, which was very cool.
Yeah, it had Canadians repping Redline that can't even use Redline.
They can't even use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I think was the biggest thing about it.
And Chris,
What
you
was cool?
touched on something, Chris, the way Grant and his team embraced you coming. Again, that's about the connections and the relationship. So Grant and his team can see that you guys are executing something really interesting. And so then how can they come in and support that and participate in that? And then now they're going to get value out of that as well. So give you support that you need, or give you space or room or equipment or whatever it might be to say, hey, I'll make it easier for you to do some media and promo here at my show. That's great for his show as well, and then there's return value on that. And you see that with Troy and Nick's show, the All-American Reptile and Plant Expo. They're younger guys doing a brand new show, and I think they've taken a fresh look at how to promote the show and how to spread the word on the show. And so they're very much embracing of folks like Adam to come out and do, live shots from the show, or to have Brian Cusco come out and do live shots from the show. And that really goes back to that whole cooperative relationship aspect, where what value can I bring to the table, and then what value can you bring to the table, and how can we kind of combine these values so we can all move forward in a really positive way. And maybe Steven brings value to me right now and gives me some great product, great promo, a great production. Even if I can't return the value immediately, maybe then I can return the value to him next year, next season, or something. It doesn't have to be an immediate exchange, but I'm certainly going to be looking to see how can I work with these guys again in the future, and how can I engage with them in the future. And a little bit to the earlier point, if you get 83 views on your video, unfortunately I can't pay you $1,000 per episode, or even $1,000 a year, but I might be able to support you somehow. And then as you use that and then produce some consistent, interesting content and get some consistent, interesting exposure, and as you grow, that's when opportunity then will present itself, that maybe we can have a deeper, more valuable sponsored relationship, and maybe work towards the point where then I can then afford to justify and afford to pay you money or actual value for that sponsored relationship. Because again, most of the Redline sponsorships that are out there are me just sharing a great discount, sending a promo pack, sending out flyers and decals, maybe a sling bag or a hoodie or something. It's not a cash layout. It's a way that I can support a lot of folks and still be able to afford it. I can't afford to pay everybody $5,000 a year as a sponsorship. That's not how the world works. But for the folks that do execute on a great level and get me a great return, I'm definitely looking to see what I can do in a deeper level, and maybe financially support them on a deeper level, moving forward. So I love the idea that Grant embraced the show, and the Canadian folks embraced the show and the Redline road trip promo. It ended up having such great legs. Whereas, Shane, I think, mentioned, here we are months later, and folks still talk about it. What a great success that was.
Well, it's funny that you brought up relationships, because you probably don't notice, but when I first saw Steven for the first time, I hated him. Like I was just like, who the hell is this guy? He's been in here for 2 years, and he's trying to tell people how to sell snakes. And they ended up being in the contest. They ended up winning the 15 minutes lane contest. And within that year, they put out a movie about the 15 minutes lane contest that got the contest more value than I could ever pay. I could hire a professional marketing agency, and they wouldn't have given me the value that Steven did just by doing that movie. And Shane, coming in and doing the movie. But like, Shane is up for, like, I'll call Shane with the dumbest idea, and Shane will just be like, when do you want to do it? Let's do it. So it makes it fun, Same with Adam. You know, I called up Adam. I'm like, let's do video reactions. Adam was like, hell yeah, let's do video reactions. You know, so
I think that's a great idea, by the way.
I think this is actually like a great core team for people to look at and see how things should be done professionally. You know, me and Robin don't look professional. Shane sure as hell doesn't. And but you know, everybody kind of holds their own, you know, with the whole thing. And I'll jump on Miguel and Justin's bandwagon and start blowing Steven too and saying how great he is for the hobby, because Steven really like there's all key players in this particular group that have a strength that adds to the group,
Right.
you know. So
Steven,
I think that's on work ethic though, because we all
Yeah.
share a common work ethic. And like I treat especially every collaboration as like a relationship building opportunity. And I'm also like building a resume. So like every collaboration is like more things I got under my belt and more accomplishments to move me forward to other things in the future.
do you guys, any of the guys here in the group, do you guys mentor folks actively?
No.
Yeah.
Patreon,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, because people are idiots. All right. I mean, like the majority of people are going to tell you, yeah, I'll do the work, but you see within a day or two that they're not going to do the work. You know.
Granted. You know,
So-
you can, I try and explain to younger folks and, you know, like my nieces and nephews and such. I mean, I don't want to sound too Eatonish, but a lot of people are shit. And if you can be exceptional, the whole world is open to you. If you can be the person that executes well, if you can be consistent and reliable, you already are heads and tails above most of the population. You know, to Chris's cynical point, like, yeah, most people, you know, don't execute for shit. That's reality. That's true.
Yep.
They talk a lot.
But the thing is that you don't have to execute for shit. You just have to be smart enough to know to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
But that's part of the execution. That's part of the execution.
Yeah. If you do that, you know, I'm a big proponent of the show me your friends and I'll show you your future kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of people aren't like that. And, you know, like basically I find it easier, instead of trying to mentor somebody, it's just to call up somebody in this, you know, in this room and say, what do you think I should do here? And can you help me? You know, it would be much easier. So.
But I think for folks that are looking to grow their brand, whether, again, it's a YouTube channel or a social media profile or business, you have to recognize there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of folks out there. But the reality is there's not that many folks out there doing it really, really well.
Right.
And if you can execute well, be consistent, be reliable, follow through on what you said you're going to do, for example, that already puts you ahead of the game, you know? And I would wonder if like Steven, for example, if you, you know, end up mentoring folks, either short-term or long-term, about growing their brand or growing their profile or, you know, their social media pages. Because I think there would be this obviously so much to learn from your experience and the way that you execute your own thing. And I'm not a Patreon guy, but does that happen within like the Patreon groups? Is that where that value is coming in?
Yeah. And I know everybody has their Patreons different. And I feel like that the main reason why people do it is because all of the money that they spend in Patreon, they can use as a snake purchase. So if they think they're going to buy a snake from us, they can just get extra benefits by joining the Patreon. But our top tier, we do a one-on-one call once a month with them. And like we talk like all the time and stuff, but like a one-on-one Zoom call where we go over, generally a lot of it is marketing. And a lot of it is like trying to help people position themselves, lean into their strengths, so that way they can use and leverage their strengths to make a name for themselves in the industry. And there are some people who are naturally really, really good at it. And there are some people who it's hard for them. And it's like they're not used to the technology and they're not used to like being on camera or marketing themselves because it's awkward and weird. And both spectrums we like try to really support and help people out with it. So I know, Adam, you do the same thing, right?
Yeah, I do. I less from some from a marketing. I just share what I've done, my own experience in marketing, which is not any sort of formal education. It's just years of, like I say, brand relationships. At the PGA Tour, I was working with Kettle One. The last property I worked at, we worked with New Belgium Brewing. Just good brand alignments that we wanted to be in relationship with and recognized with. But a lot of what I do talk about looking for opportunities to be profitable in a difficult setting, and restaurants were that for me. It's hard to get by on a 6 or 7% margin. So when we can make 30% or 40% in ball pythons, I'm feeling like it's great. So we focus on that. But yeah, the top tier, I do that. I kind of miss it. I used to always have interns from the local hospitality program. So at App State in North Carolina, I had a very active role with their hospitality degree program. In Florida, UCF has one of the great hospitality programs. So we would always take interns. And I always really, really enjoyed that process. And I even enjoyed it. I really have thought about this many times in my career. There was an intern. She finished up her internship. And I said, all right, you made it. You don't have to worry about grades anymore. You don't have to worry about me telling you to go home or saying the right thing. I said, what did you learn here and what's the future for you? And she goes, I learned that I never, ever want to do this again a day in my life. And at the moment I was like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing. And I was like, well, and I called her a day or two later and I said, good for you. If it's not right, it's better to figure out now. And I hate that it worked out that way, but I'm also proud that I was so real that I didn't pull any punches or didn't hold back. This is what it takes. And if this isn't for you, I'd rather you know that now than 12 years from now have a family and people that rely on you and you hate life. And we've actually stayed in touch. It's a really crazy outcome on mentoring, but I'm not as active as I want to be. I will say, even though there's a Patreon, I take a lot of pride. If somebody reaches out to me and asks me something, I'm going to do my best to help them. The Patreon for me is really about building a community where they can sort of have, the group can have their own sort of incubator of ideas and business. And they do a lot of business with each other. They sell each other rodents, sell each other snakes, get breeding ideas. Hey, what are you doing to heat this? What did you buy from this? Do you like this brand? Getting references from each other. So it's this cool little community incubator that I keep an eye on. I'm kind of, I sometimes I keep an eagle eye view and don't get too involved, but I do like the idea of mentoring. I do want to do more of it. And Steven, I have to give you props more than you realize, man. You mentored the hell out of me when I was starting, man. Like to this day, you're the reason I have the camera that I have. I remember being like, I remember I used to hit you up. I was like, we got to do a show together. And you're like, yeah, I'm pretty busy these days. And I was like, okay, well, someday we got to do a show together. But it was because you were doing these professional, really great things. And I like, my lighting is not what yours is, but I remember being like, all right, I got to figure something out. I can't just sit in a room with like a typical like overhead light. Let me figure something out here. And it like incrementally encouraged me to get to where I wanted to be and where I was comfortable. And I thought, okay, from here, I can let my content take the reins from here.
Yeah, Steven's great at that, actually. Steven's great at the whole, what are you using for this? And he's just like, right off the bat, he'll be like, I use the R74 KJW. And I'm like, no way, you use that. So me and Steven spend hours on the phone geeking out about camera equipment and everything like that. But the question I have about mentoring, the reason that I stopped being so willing to spend time with people is because they never listen to you anyway. You know, like you talk to somebody for 25 minutes. I probably talked to like 20 people, you know, on how to start a show and how to start. And the only guy that listened to me was Tom Wolfe from Wolfie's Royal Podcast over in England there. The only guy that went out and bought exactly what I told him to buy, went out and did everything from A to Z what I told him. The rest of these guys are like, oh, I found out that my laptop has a microphone in it. I'm just going to use that. And I'm like, yeah, 30 minutes of talking to this guy about SM7Bs and Rode podcaster mics, and that's what he does. So that's why I get aggravated. My Patreon, patreon.com/thefatmannation, by the way, is just for people to have fun. Just people have fun and laugh. And, you know, you guys are in this business. You get tired of all the bullshit. You know, why not make fun of the things in this hobby that actually deserve to be made fun of, you know?
Real quick plug for Chris's Patreon, because it's not coming from him. This is coming from me. And this is like, I don't get a commission on this. Objectively, of any piece of content or series of content in the reptile industry, Chris's storyteller series on his Patreon are things I have never heard before. And I am deep. Like, I'm listening to every single reptile podcast, every single reptile YouTube video, and they are incredibly interesting because you get to get a deep dive into how the hobby used to be in very, very specific situations that sound like a movie. It is I cannot recommend it enough. Even if you jump in and spend the like $5 for the lowest tier, listen to all of them and immediately cancel it. Like, it is definitely worth it. Like,
but hopefully you stay on board over there. Don't just cancel.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully. But how great was Robin's storyteller? I mean, that was great. And season 2 is coming out in February. So, but that's the first time I like felt a connection with Robin on like more of just like a personal level. I'm like, oh, I'm getting deep inside Robin here. I'm pretty happy.
You really
rephrase that. Yeah. I don't remember it that way.
Hey, I'm gonna be the hopeless optimist again, though. So, Chris, wasn't your one success with Tom Wolfe like worth all the mentoring you did, the people that didn't?
Not even close. No, not at all. Yeah, so I'm 1 for 20. I would get, if I was a professional basketball player, I would get fired if I shot 1 for 20 on the free throw line. All right.
So yeah, but that's one more professional podcaster that we got in the fold.
That's out there. I agree with that, but I still I feel like I don't know enough to mentor anybody. I feel like I learned from all of you guys. Like Adam, when I first saw him too, I hated him too. I was like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Fucking this bald guy says he's a musician. Like, where's the long hair? Where's the,
do you remember, Chris? Do you remember who you used to hate? And
there's a long list there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you can ask me
the well is deep here.
Yeah,
might be easier to ask me who I used to like.
Chris used to be like in the world of Christmas. Steven, you are Santa Claus, and Chris is Krampus, for sure. But
Chris will come and beat kids with sticks.
Chris used to be a literal hater of Emily and Ed.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I did not like them. Yep.
And I had to explain to him that Chris Eaton is not Emily's intended audience. She's not making content for Chris Eaton. And
actually, you could say that, but really my mind changed about them when I saw the Rings of Power series on Amazon and Galadriel was there, and I was like, that chick looks a lot like Emily, man. I was like, maybe Emily's not that bad, right?
Well, something happened, and you turned the corner on that, and you became a fan. So
I even talked to them online. I DM'd them, and they were as nice as. And I told them, I was like, listen, you probably heard that I hate you, and I did, but you guys are kind of awesome, and really it can't really hurt cuddling up to the people with 2 million followers, so
I think it's double that. But
yeah,
I mean, if you want to talk about execution, those two blow my mind every single time I see them at a show.
Yeah.
Nobody's executing on that kind of a level as far as patience and persistence and being willing to literally stand there for 8 hours and talk to 2,000 different people. I mean, that sounds like Chris's worst fucking nightmare.
Oh yeah, but I would do it. You know,
Yeah.
people think I'm unapproachable, and really I'm not.
That's
You
weird.
know, I'm pretty approachable.
I mean, yeah, Shane just tried to spin the Wolfie thing in a positive direction. You immediately shit on that. But you're down to talk to 2,000 people. You bet.
Well, that's kind of like a brand thing, right? Like that's what people know me for. Like fucking, I'm not gonna come on here and go, hey, you could do it. Because the odds are you can't do it. The odds are that the most successful people in this room, as far as ball python sales, being Steven and Adam, hey, you're probably going to fail at it, okay? You guys are basically one personal problem away from stopping doing what you're doing. However, I love seeing that long shot. I love seeing that guy. I love seeing the Miguels, of the world that come in and just crush it. And that's that's the hope that I have for you guys. I hope Steven and Adam and Shane become juggernauts in this fucking thing.
But the main message is you can't do it. Yeah, the main message is you can't do it. But what Shane and I would like to say is that you can. You can do it if you apply yourself and if you truly execute at what you're going at your goal. You can do it.
I would like to say that Shane and Robin are lying to you. But whatever, it's cool, right?
So Adam, I know that you've worked with a lot of staff in your restaurant and consultation career.
Yes, sir.
And I'm open to feedback from the rest of you guys. Can you spot a superstar when you see them? Whether it's an intern or a staffer, there are a lot of subpar performers. But can you spot a superstar?
I got slightly higher than 55%. So slightly better than a coin flip. Yes, I think that you can, but the best people will still, there's a ton of expressions about it. You don't know somebody until you're really in the weeds. And for me in restaurants, that was, Friday night, a bunch of people that you thought you could depend on didn't show up but you did. And now what are you going to do? And how are you going to get through it? And of course it's, the Friday after Thanksgiving and you're exhausted because you fed everybody yesterday and nobody wants to eat the turkey leftovers or whatever. But yeah, there's like a, it's almost like a twinkle in their eye where there's like this openness to learning. And really one of the great traits is just no ego. Just, hey, what's it take to get done? What do we need? Let's get down to business. Let's get going on it. And that's what worked for me. But I also know this sounds really crazy. I mean, unless somebody was really egregious, but if somebody didn't work out for me, I always still gave them a pretty positive review, or I found something positive to say about them if I was asked for a reference, because I was just one leader. Like I have my quirks. I don't know if he's still in the audience, but Perry at Soda Balls, he's seen me, I have days where I'm tired and short and other days where he's probably like, Adam's in some kind of good mood today, and he's a great help and I'm thankful that he puts up with it. But, I had to realize that I was imperfect as well. But yeah, there's a certain openness and willingness to listen and contribute that I always wanted from my team.
Drive and being receptive. That's what stands out. The drive and being receptive. If they're receptive and they're showing effort and motivation, they're going to go.
Steven and Shane, do you guys feel like you spot future superstars when you're at shows or interacting with reptile folks online?
I think so. I think that when you are interacting with somebody, and this is analogy, metaphor, whatever you want to call it. So it's not perfect, but it's kind of like, I kind of think of it like music. Like if you if you hear somebody like sit down in front of a piano and they play, you can tell if they've been playing for 20 years or that they just started last week. And even though somebody might have just started last week, you can also pretty quickly tell if they're like, oh, they got some talent there, and they might not know exactly what they're doing yet, but there's something that could be worked with. And I think the exact same concept applies to ball pythons, reptile industry, literally any field where you can come across somebody where you're like, oh, they might not know exactly what they're doing, but just naturally, for whatever reason, they have a lot of the qualities that just with a little direction, they can really, really get it. And I think that as more and more information gets available within the reptile hobby, there's more and more people who are like that because they're able to figure out just enough on their own where they are already putting themselves up for success. And maybe they just need somebody sitting there to be like, hey, I know you're excited, but maybe you shouldn't buy that animal because you're going to eventually overextend yourself. Or you're pushing yourself on social media and you're making content and you're being really consistent, but maybe if you try this, it will make it more engaging. And if it's more engaging, people watch longer. And if people watch longer, the algorithm pushes out to more people and you'll get more viewers in the long term. And I think that happens all the time. But a lot of people don't. You can be an expert in one area, and it's very, very unlikely that you are going to be an expert in all of the areas that you need. So that's why you need to go to like Shane's Patreon and Chris's Patreon and Adam's and work with Robin and all of these different people in the industry, because all together they are going to be able to help guide you in the direction that will make you have the best chance at success. But it's still a risk regardless.
Yeah. And the other people in the room, like I say, I love that. A lot of times I don't respond to every comment in the Patreon, and I see there's a lot of different angles and different people have different strengths. You put that really well, Stephen. That was great.
Can I just say that all of us here have been doing this long enough, and I think that especially Robin, when somebody comes up to you and is excited as hell about his new ball python business, and he tells you that he remortgaged his house to buy animals. Within 5 minutes, you're like, "Yeah, I really wouldn't have done that if I were you." You know, like, but the whole thing is finding the people that will grow the hobby, right? But the thing is that we also need the people in the hobby that are just going to be in it for 5 years, okay? Because there's a lot of churn in it, because the people that come in and are out within 5 years. Probably about half the hobby right now, I would say. You know, anybody that makes it 5 years is you know, like I consider that a successful run. But the thing that I want to just go back to is the thing that I like about all of you guys, and I've seen each of you go through your own type of personal shit that I could relate to. You guys are all pragmatic as hell. And you're just like, it's a problem. Let's get through it, and let's just move on to the next thing. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do, is they dwell on their problems, they dwell on their issues, and that's why having 100 animals is a full-time job. And if you're gonna dwell on everything that goes wrong, you're not gonna be here in 5 years. But that's okay, because for 5 years, you're keeping the machine running, right? You're keeping the reptile community running. You're shipping with Robin. You're buying cocoa from Reptichip. You're doing all this, and there's always new crops coming through every couple of years. And
did you notice how Chris was plugging his sponsors in a natural conversation? See, that's what sponsorship's about right there.
What it's about, right?
Hey, and I also keyed in on something Chris said. He said it in a different way, but it was my closing quote the very first time I was on Snakes and the Fat Man, and that's: champions make adjustments, not excuses. You just keep rolling, man, and adjust around it. Bam. Mic drop.
Pow. Done. Right.
For this last little stretch here that we got, I was going to try and turn this like all the way back, focused on our audience, which is the customers for us. Somebody mentioned earlier, and Robin, you had touched on it, and then we got down a different path. somebody touched on, how do I get to where so-and-so is? We all got to start somewhere. And I'm happy to share my experience, particularly with Robin. That's exactly right. You can start somewhere, and it's not necessarily just, hey, can you give me money because I got this little thing here? I think you got to make it about who you're trying to attract. So like, I don't know what people's perception is, but Robin and I started with him saying, sure, here's a logo and a code. Come talk to me in 3 or 4 weeks. Let's see if you can actually do anything. He did it much nicer and more supportive than that. But that was that banner on the bottom. And actually, that's the exact same code it's always been. And that's a single use code. But I was like, I'm not going to wait 2 or 3. And Judy was a big part of this. I got to give a shout out to Judy. She's so awesome. Judy set it up and was kind of the communicator between me and Robin. I think I was so excited. I was like, all right, I got to create some results. There wasn't a penny involved. There wasn't anything involved for a long time other than here's a code. Okay. We can help you now on a discount. But also what helped me was having that one logo. It was kind of like when you get to, this is a total guy thing to say, but it's kind of like when you're in high school or college, you get to date that one hot chick and suddenly the other hot girls are like, why is she with him? What does he have? Maybe he's got something. I got to check this guy out now. And I got to say, I get to work with great brands like Redline Shipping. I can bring value to you as well. And it gave me the chops to keep going. And for me, that production was almost like a drug. Like I wanted to hear how many redemptions there were. And I used to check in all the time, and I don't now. I just check in, I talk to Robin, make sure he's happy with what we got going on. But I do that. Any sponsor that has a code, I'm like, what are we doing? How can I do it better? I have my own rule. If I send somebody a bill, I ask them to tell me, hey, can we set up a phone call? Because whether it's a monthly bill, quarterly, yearly, I want the feedback and I want to know what I can do. So if anybody's like, how do I get started? I've only got 300 views per channel. Go do the work for free. Like go say, hey, let me show you what I do. Do the work for free first, and then have those people go, there is no damn way Adam or whoever else is getting away from me. I'm not letting somebody else take my slot on their show. Yeah. And I'd love to hear anybody else's stories that way, because honestly, that's really how I started. Most of my initial arrangements were, hey, let me just do the work and I'll figure out how I bring you value. And then we'll talk later when you feel like you owe me some money or something, or right. Like I say, whatever that currency is.
Well, for the first 2 years that I did the show, I didn't take any sponsors because I was like, I was an angry little fat guy back then. And I was just, I'm nobody's going to tell me what I could say about, people. And then I went to Arlington one year, and JT and Morph Market came up to me at the same time, for JT from Rep Chip and Morph Market. And they said, what could we do, to get involved with the show? And I was like, well, JT and at the time, John, were both my friends anyway. I was like, you don't got to do anything. Just, I'll keep repping you on the show. You don't got to do anything. And then they got into like there was a little twinkle in their eyes where like Morph Market was like, I'll give you this much. And then Rep Chip was like, I'll give you this much. And I'm like, no shit. People pay money to listen to me. So I don't take that lightly, like at all. Like if you like, this is not my main gig. I have a job, but I think that as the only person in here that doesn't breed anything, it means more to me. Oh, okay, right. Yeah, but you'll always be pro exotics, Robin, to me. So so you've always been doing that. I think that it means not to take anything away from Adam, but it means more to me that they'll invest in me and me not breed anything. And they're still, they know it's just a personality driven show. Whereas Adam's show is not that he doesn't have a good personality, because obviously he does, but people are going to learn something on your show. They're going to learn something with Steven. They're going to learn something with Shane. They want to hear a dick and fart joke. They'll come to Chris and they'll do that. They're not really learning much on my show. But the one thing that I could offer that say Adam can't offer right now is I know all these older guys, and I know guys who have been doing it for 25 years, and I'm friends with a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
I think I told you behind the scene, man, when you dropped that lineup of storytellers, I was like, there's a whole new thing I got to try and keep up with. Like I was like, man, just when I think I'm getting somewhere, this guy just rolls in. I was like, oh, I'm jealous, man. That's nice. And you're right. It is that.
Thank you.
It's that time. Yeah. Yeah. It's the time in. That's what it is.
But think of it this way.
Wait. Look at circling back to the road trip. That's why, like, Steven and I were glad of the B Squad edition, because our brands aren't really comic like related, and then having you on board brought the whole comic relief and everything else, and it made it a well-rounded trip.
Well, right, and that's the whole thing. But the one thing that you guys got to remember is you guys are a lot more friendlier with the people up and coming now, where in 20 years you're going to be able to go back to those guys and you know, be able to be like, hey, I knew Steven when he was selling white snakes on Morph Market, you know, so you'll be able to say that, right?
True. At shows, local shows, Repticons, but
local, yes, Repticons of all places.
Yeah. I on your question, Adam, about like how did we kind of like go about like initial sponsorships? So I take the sponsorship stuff a little bit different angle, because I tend to like doing one sponsor. I feel like that I feel that I can do a better job to one sponsor, period, because it's like an exclusive sponsor and I can focus on one person and I could really drive home that affiliation between our brand and their brand than I can with multiple sponsors. Because I think that one danger that happens if you get into a lot of sponsors is that some of them fade into noise, and that people will remember like some of them, but not all of them. Like, and then it's like, I don't want to be in a position where I am costing somebody money and they're not truly getting the value that I want to bring to them. So we try to do it where it's one sponsor, and we try to, when our very first sponsor is and was RGI, and we had approached them and we were like, hey, like, we love what you're doing, and here is like, we would love to be involved with you in some way. And we kind of talked it out, and honestly, that sponsorship is an amazing thing. Like the ability that it's one-on-one, it makes it where we can really, really focus on them, and then they provide a ton of value to us. And then same thing with Redline Road Trip. Like, it's not that we don't want to work with Redline on other things, but I was like, all right, the Redline Road Trip is Redline sponsorship. That's why RGI isn't on those videos for us. It is just Redline. So it's an exclusive sponsorship, and the name of it is Redline Road Trip, because every time we talk about it, we wanted to make sure that Redline was getting the value. So that's just a slight difference, but we kind of waited until we felt that we were at that position where we could genuinely offer enough value where they would return a considerable amount of value to us. And we went about that way. Like, we didn't build up like slow and kind of prove it. We kind of waited until we had the data to be like, all right, here's how many views we get. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and maybe two sub questions. One, Chris said he was at it 2 years. Steven, how long were you at it before you approached RGI?
We approached RGI not this Daytona that just happened. So Daytona of 23. So 4 years.
So 4 years of building a platform. So anybody that says, hey, what do we do when we've only, we're just starting? Well, it takes time. You got to get your chops up. You didn't get a college degree overnight. And I'm just getting the wind behind my back now as well. So it takes a little bit of time. Steven, also because you do this for a living and you have some similar, actually you do a lot of things. Your social medias are far better than most of mine. Do you leverage other social media areas other than, I say but other than your YouTube videos? So for myself, I found I could appetize or sweeten the deal to have the 6 sponsors here, but I could say, look, we're going to do this on Instagram. We're going to do everything I post on Instagram is going to repost to Facebook. I've got a second channel that's a little less ball python focused, but hell, it's got 150,000 followers. So that's worth something. and I was able to sweeten things that way. Do you spread it out at all, or do you keep it really narrowly focused?
Yes, and the answer applies to things that Shane has talked about and Robin has talked about. So one, I very much go off of that under promise and over deliver. Like on the sponsorships, it very much is like, Robin, we are going to take a decal and we're going to put it on a red convertible Mustang and we're going to drive up to the CRBE and we're going to post some like videos about it. And then it turned into way bigger. With like RGI, it's like you are going to be the sponsor of the channel where we have your logo in the video, like every single video. And when it makes sense, we'll talk about your products in those videos. But we will do any time that we can promote those people, whether that's on Instagram, whether that's at a show, like we have like banners that are made for like RGI to like help promote that there. We try to do that. And the other aspect of it that I think is really, really important, both on the sponsee and the sponsor relationship, is really that relationship, because simply with RGI sponsoring us and having us out in the community, we can help like protect their PR image, whether that is with Redline, whether that is with RGI, whether that's with any sponsorship. Because if somebody is saying something that's negative about somebody who's sponsoring you and you don't defend them, I don't think you're doing a good job as a sponsee.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think too, you brought up a good point there, but just to really like hone in on it, I'm really proud to say I've never said to a sponsor, well, if you want me to do that, I'm going to raise the price. Like, oh, you want me to post something more? That's $5 more. Once you're in, do everything you can. You just said it, like do everything you can, walk the walk with that brand, talk the talk with that brand, not just, here's my 5 check boxes for the month, I'm done with them. Like, I know some months I do a whole lot more, and I definitely make sure that I get all the boxes checked. But if I think of an opportunity or somebody pitches an opportunity, I can't remember if I asked you, Robin, or you pitched it to me. It was like, hey, could we incorporate this into your shows, Adam? You're doing a ton of in-person shows. I was like, yeah, your table drapes look fantastic and backdrops. Could you get your artist on it? And you're like, yeah, we got tablecloths coming. I'm like, all right, cool. But it was like, no part in there was like, well, I'll do it, but it's going to be X price here. You know, that's why I always really try and highlight, I love working with the people that I work with. And if I don't love working with the people, I got to say thanks, but no thanks if when the conversation comes up.
That's a good point that Adam brings up. And Adam says it a lot too, when he runs his Redline ad on his show and everything too. Like, with anyone that I have associations with, it's because I actually use their products and I believe in their service, whatever it is. It's stuff that I actually use. So like, I'm so confident and just like with the product, like I back it 100%. It's not because like they pay me money to use it. It's because I actually used it first before,
right?
You know, so there's that with me personally.
Yeah, I actually think that loyalty to the person that's sponsoring you is preeminent. Okay. Like, you know, one of my sponsors was shit on recently and I did a video defending him. But if like Reptichip dropped me as a sponsor, I'm not going to head on out to the chipper and say, will you sponsor me, you know, now? And then I'm going to be hawking the chipper stuff after I've been, advertising Reptichip for 8 years. Okay. And in saying that, I want Steven to know that even though I love him to death, I'm going to go back and every time he said RGI, I'm going to replace that with a voiceover that says Charlie. I said,
there we go. Yeah, baby.
Because that's what you get when you sponsor Snakes and the Fat Man. Okay.
Yeah. If you need an attack dog, get Chris Eaton.
That's right. That's right. I will do it. A blind attack dog with 3 legs. Right.
All right, guys, let's take this around the horn. What do we got for we'll end with Robin. I'm just gonna say thanks to everybody. If you get into this game, I think the theme is relationships. All of the monetization, all of the currency, all the results, they'll come. Build the relationship, do what's right for your partners. And that bit about that word loyalty, you said, Chris, you're exactly right. That's the word I needed to say. We could have boiled that right down just to word that word loyalty. So that's my thoughts. Steven, what's your take?
All right. So I think that sponsorships in the reptile hobby are really, really important for, honestly, like content creators, because it gives us a lot of support to be able to make the videos that take hours and hours and hours of our time to make and push out into the hobby. But it's not charity. It's not something that you make a YouTube video and you're entitled to. You, as a content creator, need to be able to deliver that value to the people who are supporting you in some way. And if you are not able to provide equal or greater value to them, honestly, you don't deserve the sponsorship. Like, it's the harsh reality of it. So, yeah. Shane?
It's all about figuring out which bridges to cross and which ones to burn. Just keep moving forward. That's it.
Oh, Robin, I can't thank you enough for the past 4 years, right, man. You've done more stuff for me, and I, however, am not like Adam. If I have anything additional, that I want to do, I'll call you up and ask you for more money. I got no problem doing that. But Gene Simmons from Kiss said it the best. He said, "Never use your own money, okay? Because your idea could be stupid as hell, and your friends aren't just telling you that it's stupid as hell, okay? So never use your own money." So that's why I think sponsorships are important. But I think that you have to give value. Like if nobody's ever used my Fat Man 5, coupon, I'm pretty sure Robin would say, "All right, look, nobody actually likes you, dude. So we're not going to do it anymore." But the fact that I got to become friends with Robin, that Robin is my go-to guy if somebody cancels on me, I'll tell you how awesome Robin is. I was like, "Listen, somebody canceled on me. I need somebody for a show next week." He gets me Matt from fucking Pangea, or Josh from Josh's Frogs, or he doesn't get me some fucking ball python breeder that's been doing this for 2 years. He gets me like people that have been in the hobby who have made millions of dollars. I mean,
heavy hitters.
My relationship with Robin is stellar. I love it. My relationship with all my sponsors are friends first, money second. And if Robin, told me next year that we're on hard times, we can't afford you because we gave double the money to Adam, I'll say, "Listen, let me still do Robin. Let me still do Redline ads, and you just pay me when you can." Yeah. So Robin, whether he wants to hear it or not, is in it for life now. Okay.
I appreciate that. I've always got $15 for you, my friend.
Thank you. All I need, $15 Subway, baby. All right.
Yeah, but it's sent goods and services, so you won't really get the full 15.
Right. Yeah, I'll get $13.50. Right.
It's almost.
When he sent me that $14.99 and I saw he sent it fucking goods and services, I was like, "You gotta be shitting me."
That's brilliant. To everybody's point, I think the relationships is where it's foundationally starts. And again, in an industry and hobby as tight-knit as ours, I think the relationships are of utmost importance, which means that you, as the base of the relationship, have to have integrity and have to have some character and have to deliver. As Steven said, you have to over-deliver on your side. That's how you're going to get the most value out of all of those relationships. But I think if you bring value to the table and you bring value to our hobby and our industry, I think you'll get that value back in spades as well. I just want to say, as we approach the end of the year, I really appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. It means the world to my company. Guys like you make it so fucking easy to do what I do. And I really value each one of you guys. And I just wanted to say thank you. And to make it clear to the audience, I did not buy a fucking Mustang for Steve. That's just part of the narrative, but that's not what happened. That's not what happened.
He doesn't want Cusco asking for a Ferrari next.
Yes, good Lord. Yeah, that's not what happened. But again, hey, thanks. thanks again to all three of you for the road trip execution. It was so fantastic, and I don't want to oversell it, but it's a promo I'm going to remember for a lifetime. It was just so fucking good, and you guys were just so brilliant with it. Stephen, Shane, and Chris, and I'm really appreciative. I think that's just so fantastic, and that made me reach out to Adam and say, hey, can we get a showtime where we can spotlight these guys and just show how awesome they did and how well they executed. And that kind of became a, this is really a great example for other folks looking to be in this realm of promotion and marketing and sponsorship. There's definitely a smart way to promote it and approach it. So I appreciate the time, Adam, and having us all on. Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure. I learned. I didn't tell people at the beginning. I've said it many times. I started this show as much to learn and get the FaceTime with people that I can learn so much from. And the guys in this room are, in each of your own ways, have done just incredible things for me. So I'm thankful as well. Audience, thank you guys. It doesn't make sense to do it without you. So thanks for the support. We'll be back next Tuesday. That is Christmas Eve, so I'm going to do a brunch show. The next one is New Year's Eve. I'm going to do a brunch show. So I do 11 Eastern, and just keep an eye on Instagram. I'll keep you posted on what we got going on. But those are some of the year-end shows coming up. Guys, thanks. I don't know what more to say other than thanks, and we'll just keep rambling if we don't do this. So I'm going to hit the music. I love you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for everything, guys. Thanks.
Go to fatmannation.com and vote.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got the debates tomorrow night, right? 9 o'clock Eastern.
9 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, now we're out of here. Bye.
All right.